Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lamp and Light Tuesday. So, if you are new here, we say a special welcome to you. So, it's a month of intimacy. It's a month of intimacy. Last week, we touched on a walk with God. So, this week, as scheduled, we are going a notch higher. So, we are touching on intimacy in praise and worship. Intimacy in praise and worship. So, with this month, we are touching on ways we can get intimate with God, how we can build our intimacy with God. So last week, like I said, we touched on a walk with God. This week we are touching on intimacy in praise and worship, how we can get intimate or build a more closer relationship with God in praise and worship. Welcome to Lamp and Light Tuesday. So now, intimacy basically has to do with building a very close relationship with a person, a partner, a friend, or even a family member. So now, building a very close relationship with God comes in different ways. So there are different ways which we can have this done. So today be the first session being intimacy in praise and worship. I'd like us to take our first text from 2 Chronicles chapter 5 verse 13. So this text has to do with when Solomon had finished building the temple, they had dedicated it to God, and something profound happened when they began to sing praise and thanksgiving to God. So 2 Chronicles 5:13. So it came even to pass, as the trumpeters and singers were as one, to make one sound to be heard in praising and thanking the Lord. And when they lifted up their voice with trumpets and cymbals and instruments of music, and praised the Lord, saying, For he is good, for his mercy endureth forever. That's then the house was filled with a cloud. Let's take note of this. It says, then the house was filled with a cloud, even the house of the Lord, so that the priests could not stand to minister by reason of the cloud, for the glory of the Lord had filled the house of God. This is something profound that happened. The glory of God had filled the whole temple. And this was God coming down in his glory. Why? Because their praise and thanksgiving had ascended unto him, and he had come down in his glory. You know, we are told in Psalm 22 verse 13. It says 22 verse 3, sorry. It says, yet I know, this is the Passion Translation. So it says, yet I know that you are most holy. It's indisputable. You are God enthroned, surrounded with songs, living among the shouts of praise of your princely people. Other version says he inhibits the praise of his people. So when his praise goes up, he descends in his mind. God himself descends. He comes down when our praises go up to him. And if he comes down in person, this is where our intimacy comes into play. God himself comes down. He descends when our praise goes up to him. So this isn't a one-way thing. So in terms of intimacy, it's a two-way thing. No relationship is one-sided. So in terms of relationship being built, in terms of communication, one person doesn't just speak. One person doesn't just give. The presence of both parties has to be felt. So when our praises go and praises and worship go up to God, they are sent to God. He comes down in his might and his glory. And I think it was so profound that the clouds filled the temple in Solomon's text that they couldn't enter. You know, there are days where you wake up, you have a song at heart. You know, God has different ways by which he leads us. So you can wake up with a song at heart. If it's a praise or worship song, take note of the lyrics. Sometimes it's God trying to speak through us through them. Take note of the lyrics. If there's a need for you to download them, not having them on your phone, listen to the lyrics critically. Sing and worship with that throughout the day. This is you building an intimate relationship with God. This is you building intimacy with God. You know, in our praise and worship, why God comes down is because we mimic the throne room of God as said in Revelations. It says, the four living creatures sing, Holy, holy are you, Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. So when the four living creatures sing this, the 24 elders cast their crowns down and bow. So you are mimicking the throne room of God. That is how come when our praise and worship ascends, His presence also comes down. So you cannot trivialize building an intimate relationship with God, living out praise and worship. So it is even advised that every time you'd want to have a prayer session, a personal prayer session or corporate prayer, it's advisable for you to begin with a praise or worship song. This is why we do this in church. Because when you read Psalm 100 verse 1 and 2, it says, "Make a joyful noise unto the Lord, all ye lands. Serve the Lord with gladness." Then the last statement, "Come before His presence with singing." Come before His presence with singing. So you cannot trivialize an intimate relationship with God, living out a praise and worship. You cannot just do this only in church. You can have a personal worship and praise session in your room. You don't need to only do this in church. We've seen that the glory of God comes down in His might and power when our praises are sent to Him. So you cannot build an intimate relationship with God, living out praise and worship. It's a month of intimacy. So for the rest of this week, I would advise, before you start praying, sing praises unto God. You can sing worship unto God. Never trivialize building an intimate relationship with God without praise and worship. I hope this has blessed you. I'd like to see you type in the comment section, "My praise and worship ascends to God each and every day." So it's a profession and we have to act on it. Every day, have a song at heart. Have a song at heart, be it praise or worship unto God, because His glory comes down in His might and power when our praise and worship ascends to Him. Thank you so much for making time to watch. I'll see you next week. Soli Deo Gloria. Bye.